Do, do, do. Right, we are live. Happy days. Hello, everybody. So, let's go. Right, so tonight is just something that we're trialing, and if it works, I'll do a bit more of it. And I know everyone's jumping on the Clubhouse bandwagon, so I thought, why not try and put some faces to something similar, and especially for the Android users. I posted something in the hospitality community before, and all the Android users started coming out like, "Oh, it's a disgrace," and this and that and the other. So, but
they've hired some Android developers that've been following that anyway, so it can't be too far away.
I didn't realize. I mean, you'll be able to probably share a bit more knowledge on this, being a bit more technical. But like, why is it so different?
I mean, it's easier to develop on one platform first, and then iron out all the bugs and test it out, and then go to the next one. That's basically how most people would do it. That's how we do it anyway. But iOS also has Test Flight, which is really handy for beta testing. Android has a similar thing, but I think that's generally the reason. It's just easier to develop on one and then see how it goes.
Fair enough. Yeah, it seems strange. I mean, I heard today that there's 23 or 24 million people on it now.
Is that nuts? That's mental.
And it was like, I mean, a month ago it was like, was it 2 million, something like that? And probably 8 weeks ago it was about 200,000. So it's like it's scaling at like a ridiculous rate. But yeah,
they valued it out now, isn't it? Billions already.
I think that was weeks ago. Yeah, I think they're touting at billions. I think it's something to do with so Facebook, for example, it's all about time spent, isn't it? On a service. So like, because then they can hit you with sponsored ads, and obviously the more time you're on, the more sponsored ads you can hit people with. Whereas this thing, if you look at your phone, people are spending hours on it. Whereas on Facebook, it's like 20 minutes a day or whatever it might be. Whereas this thing, people are spending like I was the same. So me and Mark were having a chat about this, about I think you've got to be careful not to get sucked into the whole thing and just like spend so much time on it. That's not creating an ROI for yourself. So I kind of putting a few things in now where I'll do the property coffee meet on the morning. I think that's a great room, and I'm happy to be involved with that, and proud to be involved with that. And then I'm testing a few other things out. But I think rooms like sub 100, in my opinion, are probably not worth your time. I think you could be maybe doing something a bit better with your time, especially the evening ones. I think I was getting quite a bit of grief for maybe not spending time with the kids and stuff like that, and I think
have you had the divorce there as well, have you?
Yeah, but I think when you look at it, and as much as you want to do everything for everybody, going into a room, say on an evening, and there's only like 20 people in that room, and the majority are say in the property coffee meet on a morning, is that time well spent? And I think you've got to kind of weigh it all up. But I think the influx of Android users is definitely going to probably change the game again, and then you're kind of going to see from there. I mean, I don't know what everyone else's thoughts on that are, but that's kind of where my mind's thinking at the minute.
Yeah, well, the Android user thing, we looked at it, we did some stats on this. So there's about 34% of the UK have got Apple phones. So the rest are Android, obviously. So if you take that as a base benchmark, 34% of people that can get on Clubhouse are on it now, then you've got another 2/3 coming.
Yeah.
If your room's holding 100 people, 200 people, you can expect like 400 to 600 people in there, right?
Yeah. I think you do need the larger audiences, and then there's this
whole maths. Then was that right?
Someone not too far.
Nobody questioned it.
Anyway.
But yeah, and I think I just think you need to be careful with like the rooms that aren't. Everyone seems to be doing rooms at the minute, and I think and I was the same at the beginning. It was like, right, I've got nothing to do now, I'll just open a room. But then you end up talking to like 12 people for the next 2 hours. Some of it works really well, don't get me wrong, those intimate rooms, but I think some of them don't work. It depends what you want from it, I guess. It depends what you're trying to get from it.
I think as well is you've got to be, what will happen is people start to pay to have professional moderators, because what you've got to do is if you get into a room and you see the topic of the room, it's so easy goes off topic, goes up totally off piece very, very quickly. and that person can't really get control back of the room. And I know there's a lot of videos out there that are teaching people how to, and a lot of people like Mark will tell you, and you as well, Ryan, when you're running podcasts, there's, when you start, you make all the mistakes and you don't know how to really do it. And you get better, better, better. And I think it's the same with these rooms. You get in them because you want to go and learn a specific topic. And then you kind of find that, the moderator will let somebody jump up onto the stage and completely turn it away from what the topic is about. And then all of a sudden you feel you're in a room that you're wasting your time on. So I think once people, it's early days for it, but I think people calm down with it. It's like that kid's new toy at Christmas at the minute. And I think that'll all calm down when people start realizing, when the wives and the husbands start saying, you've got to get some more time with me and different things. People start calming down. But I think it needs to get more professional in the way that the rooms are moderated, and that will just come with experience and time, I think.
Yeah. I think you've also got like lockdowns about to end in the UK, and I think that'll play a bit of a part in terms of how things start to pan out on that front as well. And then after lockdown, you are going to get people getting asked to come back into the office structure as well. I think a lot of companies will. I think at first they were thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a good saving for us," and then now they're kind of now they're going to be. I think a lot of them will do the flexible thing, but also a lot of people are fucking bored sat in their houses and be like, "Get me back to the office," So it sounded good at first, but after a year of it, it's a bit like, right, okay, I'm a bit sick of this now. But I mean, I think the some of the rooms are, obviously our Airbnb one that we did for 24 hours twice now. We've had God knows how many thousands of people through that. The coffee meet on a morning gets at least 200 people pretty much most mornings on and off. And, I think the way that they're controlled as a room makes the difference. Like, there's no pitching allowed. You can, if someone comes up and tries to change the topic away from, say, if someone's asked a question, they kind of get asked to just wait their turn type of thing. And I think that does keep the control of the room. But you still get your douchebags coming up trying to pitch, and there's
a few we have a laugh about, isn't there?
And they kind of do it in this, like, I mean, we had a tax expert on one morning who was like, came up and asked a tax question. It was like, I thought you were a tax man, because obviously he wanted to change the topic onto his subject so he could then talk and pick himself up, but you can spot them a mile off when they're about to do it.
But a good moderator or a group of moderators will be able to kind of, moderate, like that's why you're a moderator. So you can kind of get experience in how you can, either cut that person off or just say, look, we're not, off topic, we're going to have to put you back down, and just to run a professional room. And I think people get better at it. And I think as well, what will be a very, very good tool for Clubhouse, if they bring it in, is where you can actually limit the room. You as a room, when you open a room, you can say, I want to limit this room to 25 people, 30 people, 40 people, 50 people, rather than, you see some of these, like, I know Rob Moore very well, and he talks, and I think he's got about 7 phones because he's in 7 rooms at the same time. So, all of these different things that are happening, it's like people are trying to just get their maximum, it's that old, like, I've hit 1 million followers on Instagram kind of, so it's like, it just got to get a bit more professional, and it will come, I think, but you'll always find find there's going to be a thing in there.
Sorry, Chris. What I was going to say, what you'll find is now that everybody's got a club. Everybody's got the ability now to have clubs. So a club, for those who don't know, it's like the step up front in a room. You can build a community. It's like a Facebook group. What you'll find is that at the moment, everybody's sharing everything. So a room is public and everybody can go into it. What you'll find is that people will disappear off into their clubs. The more the Clubhouse tried to monetize this, the way that they're looking to monetize it is by tipping. They've discussed tipping. So in Facebook right now, if you are a public figure like you're Rob Moore, you can actually run a live video and people can tip you in the live video.
It's called stars, isn't it?
Stars, yeah. So Clubhouse are looking at bringing that in. They're looking at bringing in things where everybody can react. Because at the moment, the only way, when you say something and you think, oh, I've said that really well, and the only way you're going to get to know if you said that well is if other people on the stage flash the microphones or whatever. But what they're looking to do, the people in the audience are looking at to get a reaction there. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. And I think what's really cool about this app is that every Sunday they come in, they'd run their own room, and they explain what they're doing, talking about what they're doing next. And I think what you'll find is that with clubs, like we've got clubs now that we're running hospitality, community, STI Secrets, all STI Nation, all those sort of things. And what you'll find is that people will just start running rooms privately for each of us clubs to sort of, and then it'll just sort of all filter out. And then you'll find that people will start to monetize it that way. So it'll be like, if you want to come into this club, this is my new paid club. This is my free club. This is my paid club. And that'll what will eventually start to happen. People like your Rob Moore, who's got thousands upon thousands of followers, or and what's really interesting now, if there's anybody watching this who's looking to think, well, I want to try and get like maybe a different job or a different income. I know people who are now professional Clubhouse moderators, people that I've known since the app since the start of December. They're now there. That's what their job is, and people pay them to come moderate a room of whatever. So it's interesting how it is actually creating jobs. It's actually creating income for people in ways that you wouldn't have even thought possible at the turn of the year.
I don't know anybody be paid for it yet. So there's people now even paying.
Hey Dave, I'm sending my invoice.
How much?
It's on its way. Undisclosed fee.
That's funny. It's funny that I didn't realize anybody was doing that yet. But I mean, when I first started on Clubhouse, I could see that there was this like master mod sort of status. It's like a show host or whatever. I could see that being something that would happen with it. So for sure, and you can tell that the rooms that are run well are nice, decent rooms, and they're the ones that will grow and grow and grow. Yeah, and it's all about the moderators. It's all about the people that are in that, the mods that are in that group that run the rooms. Because some of them you go in, I don't know if some of them are just such a joke. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've been in anywhere. You've just been like, wow, what is going on here? It's like a free for all. Especially some of those bigger rooms. When you've got like some big egos or some big influencers, like 70 people that are modding, and one of them tries to talk, and then they're all talking over each other. It's
like when you go to the pub, or when you could go to the pub, and you just basically sat down and say it's like you and a buddy sat down, and it's a bit quiet, and then all of a sudden like 30 people come in and sit next to you, and they're all like back and forth, and you can't help but just listen in. That's what Clubhouse basically is. If you just jump in a room like that, you can just listen into to the conversation, and that's what's so addictive about it. And I think the reason why it's so addictive, what we're doing right now, we've had to physically stop what we're doing from whatever we were doing beforehand to come and do this. But with Clubhouse, you can literally, it's not disruptive, just like podcasting, it's not disruptive in any way, shape or form. And I think when people in the UK do go back, I mean, just look at America, they're not, and Vinny will testify to this, there's loads of places in America that aren't locked down, they're moving around, but it's still that the main majority of their user base is in America. But what you'll find is that so many people are doing Clubhouse in their car, are doing it while they're walking, and it doesn't make the best listening experience when you're listening in, but it's just what people will start doing. They'll start popping up and getting on stage as they're going for a walk or walking to work or whatever. And I think that will always be the case.
Yeah.
This is go crazy,
Let's kind of turn the conversation towards Airbnb. I think service accommodation, short-term rentals, and all that sort of stuff. I think Vinny, you've got a bit of data behind the scenes. So have you seen for like the UK market an uplift in bookings? And I know Dave and I can probably speak, and Chris is kind of a bit different in terms of his client profile, but we've certainly seen a bit of an uplift. I probably haven't seen the mass rush for April just yet, but I do think it's around the corner and not too far off. What are you seeing behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any numbers here, but I was looking at some reports of huge bookings in the UK, and I've seen some other provide like other pricing software, or whatever else, releasing some emails saying that there's a big demand. I haven't really seen, at least nobody's talked about that, and I remember to mention it. So no, I haven't really seen a huge change on our platform, at least.
Okay.
We have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because not with my agency in Cannes, but with the facility on iPRAC where guests actually register their booking against the iPRAC member. That gives us the data of how many of our members, what bookings our members are getting, verified. And since in the UK, since that announcement about the roadmap, then there was a lot of inquiries and a lot of bookings and deposits, I'm always a big believer in, let's not just talk about bookings. I need to see that it's a booking with money. That's a booking to me. Like blocking a date, it's not a booking to me. So I believe that you've got to be looking. Even most of our members are charging between 10 and 15% deposit, but they're getting that money, and the guests are registering their booking against that member. And said we had about 1,200 bookings across Europe in that period of about 10 days from that announcement. So there's definitely an increase, but I mean whether that's enough to kind of make any market share, I don't.
Have you can you dig? I mean, or have you dug into that data in terms of what months those bookings are for, or is that just you've just seen the uplift in the bookings and?
No. We've got the data on the bookings. A lot of it's for September. A lot of it was from April, July, August. So there was a bit of a peak in July. Not so much for April. But certainly for July, August, and September, they were the 3 peak months. Where people were deciding that they were going to book that holiday. But obviously, they're working on that lower deposit of like 10% with a flexible cancellation fee. So it's making it easy for people to book. But just paying a small amount. But I mean, people just want to see this, and I think the vaccine's helping. But bookings are happening, but not as we would like it. It's not full recovery, that's for sure.
I got sent a petition today, which take Portugal off the red list, like an actual government petition. So I think there's a lot of it was actually my mother-in-law who sent me it, so because she wants to obviously go, and so do we in the summer. But I do think there was about 25,000 people had signed it already. So there are obviously a lot of travellers who are still thinking, I'm not going to get away this summer. Which will be it'll be good for us in a way. Obviously not good for me personally who wants to go away, but for the business it is going to be good. But I mean, Dave, how have you? I actually think I spoke to Joanne about pricing this morning, but I went a bit hard on April, so I was like, let's just whack the rates up and let's if anyone wants to book.
We did the same.
But we haven't got many bookings, so it's a case of like now we're getting a bit closer, starting to tweak that.
Look, I got a view on that. So look, I mean, we did exactly the same as you. We kind of whacked our prices up from 12th of April onwards, and for the summer as well. Now we've seen much more bookings coming in than we have done. At least we're getting something coming in for the summer months now. Not at the rates that we were expecting, but I think you got to think about this logically. If we've whacked our prices up, Ryan, which we want to maximize what we can get out of our diaries, right? That there'll be those percentiles of rates that are just getting wiped off as they come up. So I think if we get bookings right now, great, but I won't worry too much about it until your 7 days before period. Like look at the moment, we're getting bookings for the same week on the day. I mean, when did you used to get that? People used to book at least a week, 2 weeks ahead. Through the pandemic, everybody's been booking within like a 7 day period or even last minute. And I think the mindset thing's going to have to change in people's booking processes going forward, because, although Boris has said we're opening on the 12th, and then we've got the hotels opening on the 17th of May, if they reneged on it at Christmas, if you remember. So it's getting people's confidence back into it.
As it is that people are booking, but they're booking with people that have got real flexible cancellation. They're basically securing in the price right now, but then the people that are getting all these bookings, if you dig down the data a little bit and if you go a bit singular, it's the ones that have got the flexi cancellation or the ability to move it. The reason why people are booking so last minute is exactly that. it's not so much a case of, right, I've had the vaccine, good to go. It's a case of what happens if they can't go for whatever reason? What if the government changes their mind? What happens if the data and all of that? And that's not just the UK, that's everywhere. What you're finding is bookings are coming in more last minute, and what you'll find is that people are staying longer. So it's really, really hard for hosts who, when it comes to pricing, I've been saying this for like the last 2 months now, pricing alongside a real strong digital guidebook are going to be some of the most important tools you'll have in your arsenal this year. So it's really essential to be on point with it. You can't just set it and forget it. It's what so many hosts do.
Mm.
Yeah,
it's a funny one.
I think as well. I've heard other people coming in and saying, "Oh yeah, my weeks are all filling up for the summer, and I'm getting loads of bookings coming through." Well, to be honest, right now, I'd prefer them to fill up first, because they're obviously going to be the ones that have got the lower prices, and we'll just nick the higher percentile when they come through. So I'm cool with that. I won't worry too much about it right now, Ryan.
No, it's not. I think, because we went daft, we were like 200% increase on our base rate from the 1st of April, right? And we got a few bookings, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, well, we're only 20 days away from that 1st of April. I think Easter holidays for the kids is about the 3rd or 4th of April, I think it is. So, and I know that's not the 12th of April, but the government know that people go early. Yeah. So the government know that if they set a 30th deadline, people are going to start on the 20th. And that's why they set these deadlines, because that's just the way that we work as UK citizens and humans. Basically, we're like, right, okay, well, if it's all right in 10 days' time, it's all right now. And that's kind of the mentality that they do have. And I think people will start to move around. We obviously send our forms out and they say they're traveling for business. Well, we don't question that, right? If they say they're traveling for business, they're traveling for business. And we can't they can't expect us to interrogate every single customer. We have to trust our customers at the same time as well. If we were interrogating everybody, we'd probably end up with bad reviews and people wouldn't want to stay. So, you've got to put your things in place. But at the same time, if they're ticking, we had a problem at New Year's Eve, and the police got called out, and the police then wanted to see our forms, and they're like, right, okay, fair enough. They've said they were staying for business, so it's not your responsibility. It's back onto them. So as long as that's happening, but I do think, we are starting to see stuff move. And so for me, it's like, okay, we're 20 days out, the 200%, I think we're going to get what we're going to get out of that. And now it's time to maybe just start managing our rates again. Like, I felt like this morning when I was speaking with Joanna, I was talking pre-COVID sort of language, and like how we used to manage it and how we used to work it. And whereas we've not done that for a while, and the same with like around weekends and this, that, and the other. And I think that mentality from us as hosts probably needs to come back to be able to make sure we are driving the most out of the bookings. And
pricing tool. Do you use a pricing tool?
Yeah, we do. But I do still think that a manual check on every single property every week. So they just check that how many. So we have it's just, but also like say Price Labs, for example. Like I've got a property that's 30 yards away from the start line on Great North Run Day, right? 30 yards away. And it's a nice little property. Price Labs will have the data for Newcastle as that is a high demand weekend, but something 30 yards from the start line for an elite runner is like super, super valuable. And they will pay more than the data that Price Labs will give for that property. So we, by knowing your properties and knowing where they are, especially around things like that, then you can squeeze that extra bit of money out of it that a pricing tool wouldn't do that for you.
Yeah, I agree.
So I always think it's good to just have a check. And also, like, so Joanne on a Monday, she'll check our occupancy. We have like a tracker of how many days we're booked each week that she checks. So if we aim for 24 a month per property, so if we're on week 2 and we've still got like 0, we're not on a run rate, then she's got authority to go and like just drive some sort of revenue through that property, so she can like
you can tweak that on Price Labs as well, though. So you can put like a percentage discount as it gets closer if it's not booked. So we do that on ours. The
thing I don't like about that is that does it for every property.
No, you can do it individually.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I only want to do it for the properties that might be struggling in that specific month or that specific time frame. I don't want to do a discount on all my properties, because then effectively anybody that's booking last minute is going to get a 20% or 10% full discount. But, so I think that works on the properties that you're not getting booked, but on the ones that you have got booked or are getting booked, I think you're costing yourself money by doing that. So we kind of do a manual check, and then we'll adjust rates based on that week or that month's outlook at that specific Monday morning check. And then it's a bit more manual work for sure, but that Joanne's in charge of that. That's her responsibility, and it's up to her to drive the occupancy and drive the bookings. And I think by doing that, you end up squeezing more money out of the ones that do perform and sort of limiting the damage on the ones that aren't performing. So it's just a bit more of a manual intervention. I think Pricing Labs or Price Labs, Beyond Pricing, whatever, Wheelhouse, they all have their use, but they're only data driven at the end of the day, and it's based on, well, various things, I think. But
yeah.
So that's kind of how we do it anyway.
With us, I think we can see our members, and it's almost 50-50. Like some people just work exactly like you. We have this rate feature, like a lead time rate rule feature that we built for one of our members in London, who have like 100 properties, and they work exactly the same way as you. They have like their price they want to get, they have their price they're willing to sell for, and then they have like their base price that this is the lowest they'll ever go on that rate. And then we just have rules that automatically pop to those prices like 28 days away, 14 days away, and 7 days away, but for actual pound values rather than percentage.
That's very much how we have our Price Lab set up. So you've got your base rate, your minimum rate, your aspirational, and then you price them. You can do them all individually, and each individual property you can set up a different structure for them. That's what kind of what we've done. And we do look at them on a weekly basis and tweak them. But and you do need to do that, because sometimes Price Labs or any pricing tool will just throw something out and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you have to review. We work with Rented. I don't know if anybody has tried rented.com. But they are what? Sorry. Rented.com. Rented. They're like they are like a personal kind of revenue manager for you. They'll go in and do that on your behalf. They cost extra, obviously, but they work with they work on top of Price Labs and Key Data dashboard. So any of our members who use Rented.com will be pushing the data to Key Data. Rented will analyze that, like an account manager or whoever will actually go in and analyze those numbers, and then either edit on Price Labs or go to our platform and manually edit the prices to get what they think they can, to optimize basically.
Here's a question for Chris. How do you do your pricing?
What you mean in Cannes?
Yeah, like obviously you're in the space, but you work on a total different model, really, to us. So it's kind of.
What model do you work on, Chris? I don't know.
I'm a broker. I buy the properties in and I sell them for whatever we get. But I mean, we buy them in for the festival. So I would go to a property owner and I would say, I will give you 80 grand for these 6 festivals. And then I'll go and sell them for 160.
Okay.
And then but it depends on the property. Maybe we work on 2 beds and 3 beds, but then we work with penthouses with big terraces that we rent out to Twitter, and they pay a lot more. So we do a lot of the event venues, we do yachts, and also we work on a completely different model. And I know our market, so I know what we can get, and I know the demand that comes in for each festival. And we're actually the leader in Cannes, so we've actually spent all that time building that brand of trust and who we are. So any big corporate company who wants quality just calls us. So we can kind of name our price, in a way, because these big companies that we work with, like Google and Twitter and Spotify and Disney, they want quality and service over price. So when we come up with a figure and say, listen, you can have these 25 properties, the price is 150,000 for the week, for all of them, including all your airport transfers, all of your servicing, your daily cleaning, everything. They can sign off on that. That might cost us like 8,000 as a byproduct. So we
really interesting.
What I love about
is
is
essentially an SA broker, basically.
Chris, I'll be talking to Chris on WhatsApp, and this is what I love about Chris. I'll be talking to Chris on WhatsApp, and I'll be mentioning something, and I'll mention Twitter or something. He goes, "Oh yeah, I know them." As in, you know them? Yeah, as in, I know the people who work there. And I was like, okay. Now talking about someone else, and we go, "Oh, Neil Patel. Oh yeah, I know him." Like, Jesus, you know everybody. It's like I can mention anything, any industry, anything. It'll just go, yeah, I know them. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because in Cannes, and it's the international destination for all the big festivals, like MIPIM, you know, in March, you know, when everything's going to plan without a COVID pandemic world. But you know, we've got the MIPIM in March, then you've got the MIP TV, which is TV in April. We've got the film festival in May, Cannes Lions in June, the yacht show in September, MIPCOM in October. You know, all of these tax-free in October. So all these different events, but we do all of the events for these big brands. So I've met like all of these people through doing the events, and so sometimes when Mark's, you know, I know that, yeah, I met him, you know, just through what we do, you know. But I mean, I started at like right at the bottom of Cannes. We built that venue up, but that business up by just being brave and taking risks, because, you know, I was the first person who was basically going to a penthouse owner and saying, "I'll give you 100 grand for the year, and you give me it in 7 weeks." You know, because if I only sold it for 70, I'm 30 grand down. But if I sell it for 150, I'm 50 grand up. Do you know what I mean? So my job, I've got a team of brokers who bring me deals, and I kind of look at it and say, "No, that's not a deal. That's not a deal. That's, you know, you need to get that for 20 grand less." You know, and then I know how. Yeah.
This as well with Chris, you'll notice with Chris that he doesn't sound very French, and the thing is, well, if anybody has ever lived abroad, if anybody has ever like worked or lived abroad, to be a Geordie going into a place like France as well, and then doing what he's done is just insane. So people in France, they just keep it in house, they keep it in country, and then for him to go in, this Geordie going, I mean, I'm not going to do a Geordie accent, but
go on,
you know,
have a go.
He's done phenomenal to do that. So you should give yourself a pat on the back, buddy. It's insane.
I must admit, and I don't know why, but most do you get it as well, Chris? People like, he's Irish. Like when you speak to foreigners, I'm like, I'm not Irish. I'm from Newcastle. Yeah. You know,
I get that all the time.
He's in the room like,
you should be so lucky.
Yeah, but that's so different. We're a different model. We're a model that not many people could do. But Cannes is a different, you know. But I mean, it's you know, we're also quite easy because the demand's already created as well. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, because what happens is that, like, let's say for instance for the Cannes Film Festival, there's like 25,000 people descend on Cannes, but it's an international festival, so they're coming from everywhere all over the world. But there's only 7,000 hotel rooms, you know, of any quality. And within the vicinity of the Palais de Festival, which is where everybody wants to be, the red carpet. So all of a sudden you've got the demand. So if you're buying in properties in January, you've got like a stock where when people are coming in and saying, "Listen, I'm looking for 10 3-beds," you know, we're saying, right, it's 20 grand a 3-bed for the festival. That's like a 220 grand invoice. You know what I mean? But you've got to have that. But what you've got to have that stock. You can't get an inquiry for 23 beds and then go running around looking for them.
Yeah.
So do you pay your do you pay monthly for your stock, or do you just pay like an annual fee, or how does that work?
Well, we structure it sometimes with different owners. Sometimes we can give we always go for like January because that's when owners need the most money. So we kind of block out and start proposing all of our yearly fees in January. So we put out yearly prices, and that gets kind of filtered. So everything will get a deposit, but then over the 12 months, the balances will be filtered out over the year. But by the 12 months, at the end of the festival, we'll have received all of the money for that year.
So you kind of pay the owners as your demands increase, and they get more for those months and less for the lower months.
Yeah. But we don't deal outside of the festivals. Outside of the festivals, we leave the owners to do what they want to do. So we've got really tight contracts on how we manage these owners. We're tying these owners into them 7 weeks of the congresses out of the year. We don't do rentals in July and August or any weekends. We don't do any of that.
So do you have the properties? Do you still have access to the properties then, or is it just literally you have them for the 7 weeks and that's that?
I have them for the ones. I have my own. I mean, I've got my own portfolio of 19 properties, which we rent out sometimes. But generally, all of the properties that we manage, we're basically just contracting them for the festival. Once the festival is done, they're back to the owner, and the owner's doing their own summer rental. They do their Airbnb style. But we're going in January saying we're going to give you X for these 7 weeks, and they sign that contract, and then all of the payments are filtered through. So it's guaranteed rental for them, you know. And once we've committed to it, if I don't rent it, that's on my loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're guaranteed that money. So that's why I have to know our market to know what kind of property and what a deal is. So when a broker's coming to me and saying, "Listen, I want to buy this in as stock," I would look at it as the address, the location, the floor, the size, all of this, and I can look at it within 5 minutes. I can say if it's a deal or not, and they'll say, "No, go get it for $7,000 less," or "Go and get it for $20,000 less." So it's a broker model rather than like dynamic pricing, Airbnb, waiting for the inquiry. We've got to have a level of stock.
Yeah. You know? And is there an upper cap on the stock as well? Because you'll know how many people are coming. And is there an upper, like, so if someone said, "Oh, I've got 200 properties," you might be like, "Listen, we only need 70. 70 is like the most stock we're going to need for."
Exactly. Yeah. You know, because if you go over, if you get an inquiry for over, we've got partners. Obviously, we've got partner networks where we've got other agents who've always got available properties. So if we got an inquiry for 10 properties that we didn't have, I mean, I could have them on our books within an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because we've built that partner network. But when we're committing to all of these quality, you know, so I go out and basically buy all the best properties I can.
Did you say you do yachts as well?
Yeah, we do yachts.
Yeah.
Wow. That's where I'm going this summer. Free invite.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So, but this is what Canny does, and we do all the event stuff as well. So some of the properties as well that we do is we rent the property, and they have a rental price, but then that client, like for instance, Twitter is one of our clients. They rent a property for quite a large amount of money, but then they have to take out all of the furniture, and that's another cost, you know. And then we've got to sometimes we've got to get cranes in because we're taking furniture out of penthouse apartments on the 8th floor. We're hiring a crane to take out the furniture, and like some people are paying like 25-30 grand just to take out the furniture, protect it, organize that place for their corporate branding, and then we put the furniture back in and give it back to the owner. So there's a lot of there's a lot of behind the scenes work that a lot of people don't see that we do in the event management side. So it's a busy company. When people say, "Oh, you only work for 7 weeks of the year," it's like, well, kind of, but you know, there's a lot of development goes on in the behind the scenes, you know.
Interesting.
We bitch and moan about managing a few cleaners.
I'm not just gonna say.
God. Yeah,
fucking cranes getting furniture out of penthouse flats. I mean, you just like, I can just see disaster written all over that as well.
Well, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. It hasn't all been plain sailing. You know, I mean, I think the first time I did that was like 2008, 2007, and it was a nightmare. You know, I made so many mistakes. Didn't have the right cleaning. Forgot about the insurance. You know, but you learn, don't you? You just make these little mistakes, and you think, "No, I'll make that better next time." And then as you get on, you just become that leader. But you've got to be prepared to disrupt and do things that other people aren't prepared to do. You know, and that's what I've done from being kind of all the way up to like the last 20 years.
No, it's an interesting. I think the good thing about this industry is like everyone spins it in a different way. It's all got the same title, and it's all using property as an asset or whatever you want to call it, but as a product. But everyone spins it in such a different way and makes it work. You know, Like Vinny's not got any stock, but he's using his tool allows a lot of everyone to do a lot of stuff with it, you know.
Absolutely.
Dave and I run fairly similar models, but we run them very differently, you know, with the stuff that we use and this, that, and the other, you know. Everyone's, you know, marked as it different. And it is an incredible industry. And I think, I do think, what's obviously we had a lot of people leave the industry in the UK and probably overseas as well. I mean, what's people's thoughts about people flooding back into the industry?
You know what? Once they see what's happening, because it's going to happen, isn't it? The staycations are coming back. We're going to get this little boom. People are going to jump back on the bandwagon. I think the problem this time though is there's a lot of especially for rent to serviced accommodation properties, a lot of people being burnt.
Yeah,
a lot of you know, landlords that have been handed their properties back, and people have just defaulted on their contract terms. So I think there's a lot of people who have been burnt by it. I think it'll be more difficult to get deals onboarded for the uneducated.
We need a bigger barrier to entry, though, don't we? We need a bigger barrier to entry. Absolutely.
Yeah, I actually think
it's free for all out there, man.
I think the cost to get into it has increased slightly, because I was saying this. We've got about 6 or 7 properties at the minute of mine that I own, that I'm saying let's just get these a bit smarter than they once were, because I don't want to be doing refunds in the summer when people check in and you know pick something. So, but prior to COVID, you literally just had to put it on Airbnb and you got a booking. It didn't really matter what the standard was like. But I think COVID has had those that have stayed in the game have definitely raised their standards in terms of how they're presenting the properties. So I think you need to just, and it's just daft things like a few more extra fake plants and a few more bits of wall art and some nice little lamps.
Wall somewhere or whatever.
Yeah. Whereas before it was literally just like, just put some furniture in it and take a photo with your Netflix on your TV and you've got a booking, you know?
Do you, you know, when you've got contractors staying at your house, like the Monday to Friday or the long-term bookings, you never bloody hear off them, do you?
No.
When the leisure clients come back, you can just...
we turfed a bunch out last Saturday night.
Really?
Well, yeah, Saturday morning, Friday night, one of the other, it's in a block, so one of the other guests called to complain. And so on Saturday, we sent someone round to go and turf them out. And sure enough, they'd had a party. And I think this is where we've like got to get strict on it until April the 12th, because it's when the leisure clients are back and the bars are open, yes, they're having a few pre-drinks and after drinks, and it's not fine, but you know, and it can still get out of hand. But what's happening now is they're just having all their drinks all night in the place, you know, so they're not actually leaving. They're not going elsewhere and coming back in dribs and drabs. They're just in there having that is their bar, you know what I mean? And they're there all night and they're just...
Did I tell you about the party I had in one of mine in St. Helens?
I saw a picture of something that they left behind. Or was that not the same?
Oh, no, that was a different one. That was a different one. So we got cameras on this one, and you know, it was a booking where it was a lady had booked, and I think she was an NHS worker or something. We'd taken all the right IDs anyway. So we got a phone call from the neighbour downstairs saying that there's a party going on. So I sent my operations manager around there to go and check it out. He looked on the videos first, and there was a lot of people going in and out. Anyway, got there, 25 people having a party in a 4-bed flat. Police, do you know what? The police were fantastic, because it was during one of the lockdowns as well. But police come round, sorted them out, chucked them all out, and the lady who booked it got a 10 grand fine.
Really?
Yeah.
The police were echoing that for us for this. One of my, I mean, the party stuff, it can get terribly out of hand. Like one of my friends had a flat in Chelsea Harbour. So quite an expensive flat. About 10 years ago, when Airbnb was literally just kind of kicking off a bit, he got a phone call off his neighbour, and he's like, "Are you in your flat?" And he's like, "No, I'm up in Newcastle." He's like, "There's something going on." He's like, "Oh yeah, I let this Airbnb thing like have it for the weekend." And they're like, "All right, you might want to like come down or sort them out. So he sent someone round that he knew. There's about 75 to 100 people in his flat. They'd moved all the furniture onto the balcony. They'd hidden all the knives under the mattresses and the thing. And they were selling tickets for this party in a penthouse in Chelsea Harbour. So the damage was something like 17,000 quid. But at the time, Airbnb did not want to ruin their brand name because they were just like kicking off. They paid the full lot they paid the lot straight away, no questions asked. They were just like that there's the damage claim, just paid off. And so I think obviously it's developed a lot since then, and I think IDs and security checks, but you just still cannot. I mean, Chris, do you get any of that in your stuff, or is it just like that high end? That you're attracting a total different client, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean, but we're taking the caution anyway. You know, we've got very hefty cautions in some of our properties. Some of our cautions 20 grand cashed. Like they actually send the 20 grand. But it's a corporate company, innit? So they don't have a problem with it, and they're kind of, I mean, we've had people where they've just said, yeah, it's okay, we understand we've lost the caution, Right. So it's different dealing with. It's a different like again, it's just a different market, and I think that's where
I think sometimes because I had Spencer on my podcast the other week, and he was saying he used to do the high-end stuff in London, and he rented to a sheikh, and the sheikh the sheikh said, "Can I smoke in the property?" And Spencer was there, stood in front of him, and he went, "No, you can't. It's in the terms and conditions." He said, "What's the fine for smoking?" And he went, 500 quid. He just lit a cigarette up and give him 500 quid. So it's just like, and then I was saying, like, I don't know whether you've ever been to Dubai, but they have every half a mile, they have a speed camera on Sheikh Zayed Road. And you get points out there, but it's not like 12 and you lose your license. It's called black points, and you need like millions of them before you even like go to lose license. You just get fined. It's about 140 quid per fine. The sheikhs will like preload their cards with like 50 grand and literally just fly up the motorway like 200 miles an hour, up and down. They just don't give a shit and just collect all these fines. So I mean,
that's a different thing. We have people like that in the film festival. Rich Arabs and people like that come down during the film festival. They just rent like big Ferraris and just drive up and down the Croisette in Cannes. It's just crazy, man. What some people are prepared to do, just to have a little bit of fun, and at a cost. It's like, when most people would like, not so much kind of break the laws because there's going to be a cost involved. Some people are like, it doesn't really matter, the fun's worth the cost, and whatever it is, and some people just do that, so it's but we take cautions, and generally we're in the corporate world, so people aren't really doing them parties. They come in, and just business people, really. They go to bed on a night, getting up in the morning, going to Palais, coming back, or they might go to a couple of events, but generally they're just like normal guests, just attending a business conference.
Oh, we've got a question. Finally, we've got a question. I think this might be one for you, Mark. This might be one for you. Can you please recommend who will be able to help me advertise and market my 4 apartments on Airbnb? I've investigated a huge amount and I've come into business in the middle age. This is all momentum. Okay, so Dali, you've got 2 options. One is reach out to Dave or myself, and we can talk you through managing those properties for you. And if you want to do it yourself, you want to be hooking up with someone like Mark, who can help you design your own website, get those apartments on there, and you can drive your own bookings in, and then getting them on Airbnb yourself. Yeah, you probably want to speak to Dave or myself. Don't know whether anyone else wants to add to that, but I'd say that's pretty much how you get that going. And then obviously use Vinny's magic uplisting platform to get those full apartments sorted. So yeah. Well, it's just to wrap up, gents, and a pleasure for your time as always. Do you want to just tell people kind of what you're working on at the minute, and what might interest them? You want to start at the top, Mark?
Yeah. So if anybody needs a website, we do. We're working with Vinny down at Uplisting to do some pretty cool things with website design and linking up to property management softwares and making it a seamless transaction. But yeah, basically our whole shtick is that we guarantee to get direct bookings on your website And if you want to find out more, just go to boostly.co.uk /website. And then if you want to book a call, it's boostly.co.uk/WC.
Thanking you. Dave?
Okay, yeah, so I'm at the moment, there's a couple of things I'm working on. So I'm working on taking my SA management company and going UK wide. So we're taking on management deals across the country right now. But the other thing I'm working on is I've got a guest house that I've decided, rather than changing it to C3 and having to get planning, etc., I've gone the C1 route now, Ryan. So we're just going to change it into an apart hotel and run it. Yep. So makes more sense that way.
Easier.
And you know what? I didn't know. It's shameful. I didn't even know you could do that until I joined Clubhouse. So there you go. So picture a little plug for the Clubhouse room. So Ryan and I, we run a Clubhouse room every morning, the property coffee meet. So feel free to join us there. That's 7 till 9 every morning. Lots of great knowledge shared in there every day. So yeah, look forward to seeing you there.
Good room. Good room. Vinny, you're working on wonderful things at the minute.
Yeah, getting pressure by some of my members here. Working on we're trying to build some more like an e-sign feature, e-signature feature, which is going to be released hopefully next week. Where we one thing with uplisting is to try and like put in as much as possible, so it's all in one platform, and we control it and everything. So e-signature is coming up. We're releasing a integration with Remote Lock tomorrow to some beta testers. So that's going to be August Lock, Igloo Home, Sledge, whatever, automated locks, and working on a massive upgrade for our automated messages, which is going to be pretty funky. It's going to tie in to direct marketing as well, to previous guests and that kind of thing. So trying to get you guys to earn some money. Also working on my mom and dad have a guest house in Donegal. Similar thing to what you're doing, Dave. We're turning it into like a full house rental, like 16 bedrooms. So trying to figure out how we list that on Airbnb and whatnot, and how we split it up, and when we release it as maybe an 8-bed, whether it's a month before the check-in date and so on. So kind of working with them on that and seeing how we can get uplisting to really help with those kind of properties. Yeah.
What does your brother do now? Because obviously he had an incredible business in this space, but then obviously sold. Did he sell out?
Yeah, they sold. So it was a part-time business. So he's a digital marketing expert for PayPal. That's what he does.
Fair it is.
Yeah.
200 properties, part-time business.
Are you allowed to say what business he sold out? I'm interested. Now you just hooked me with that, Ryan.
I don't know if it's public, but they run a property management company in Edinburgh. They had like over 300 properties at one point. There's a team of them, but he kind of focused on the acquisition, getting the landlords and whatnot. But they sold earlier this year.
Okay.
Happy days. Chris, iPRAC's obviously going well. All I see at the minute on LinkedIn is new member.
Flying. That's all we're doing. Just on the trust mission. That's what this industry needs. Just more trust. Helps buyer booking. So I went on that mission in 2014. That was a mission for me to say, right, I'm going to bring some trust, a trust certification to the industry, and that's the mission that I am constantly on. So just doing that, looking for partners, just doing podcasts, just I'm passionate about it. I could walk away from it.
Chris, hit me with some details on that.
Yeah, you should.
I mean, since we've joined, I think I did it definitely for the Dubai gig more than I've probably done it for the UK gig. But I also did it because I think, as well as building trust with the customer, as a company like mine, who are constantly reaching out to landlords, we have a massive trust factor that we are going to look after your property. We know what we're doing, this, that, and the other. And I think being able to, like, we've obviously got it in our brochures now and on our websites and all that sort of stuff. It does add that element of, okay, these guys are officially approved to do this service. And therefore it has, like, it's really helped us not only in the UK, but also in Dubai in terms of our acquisitions over the last few weeks.
There's nothing else out there in the industry, is there, that does that?
No,
there isn't. This is why it exists, Dave. Because prior to iPRAC, it was just like the Wild West. Now, don't get me wrong, it still is a little bit like the Wild West. But what we've got to look at is we know that there's so many legitimate and trustworthy and fantastic hosts and operators out there, you know, but we don't know who they are, you know, and consumers don't know who they are. So we need to find a way. We need to find a way to identify who these people are, and it's through a very robust application process of certification, not just give you a logo. And the way the iPRAC works is it works with technology as well. So like every iPRAC logo is different, and that means that people can, you know, check you out on the iPRAC platform, register their booking against your membership, ensure their booking. So it's just bringing all this consumer trust. But like Ryan said there, it can help you if you use the tool that it is, you know, and that's what you do. You've got to buy them tools and use them. It's a trust tool and it's a conversion tool. So that's why it's going well. But I think but I don't think we've reached the point where most operators believe that trust is that important. They believe that I am trustworthy. So some people should trust me, but that doesn't how it works.
Change. And the whole reason why is that one of the big problems with direct bookings, which is everything that I talk about, is that if you go to somebody and say, well, why do you book with Airbnb or booking.com or whatever? You say, well, it's
absolutely
trustful if you go in via there, because if they're on that platform, then they must be, you know, I trust that platform. But if everybody done this for any amount of time, you can know that there are fake listings on these sites and everything. So by doing something like iPRAC and getting involved with it, it does give you that accreditation, and that accreditation, that little certificate, does stand for a lot. And you may not think it should be part of everybody's marketing thing.
Absolutely. It's a conversion tool. So I mean, if you can invest in the tool that can convert inquiries into rentals because of trust, then that's an investment that you've got to be making if you're an operator in the space. But I just believe that people aren't working on their trust strategy as much as they should right now. But in the next 2 to 3 years, consumers won't be booking with you unless you're trust certified.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that.
In 3 years' time, it won't be. And also, I mean, I've been speaking to some people in the dynamic pricing sector, and the trust certification is going to probably in the next 12 to 18 months is going to become part of the dynamic pricing, so that if you can actually list your property as a trusted certification property or an agency who's certified by trust, then that will have an effect on your pricing as well. So, you know, it's coming, but it's just some people are adapting early, which is great. But within the next 2 to 3 years, it'll become compulsory, really, if you want to be getting any kind of market share.
Okay, yeah, hit me up with some details, mate.
I think it's too cheap.
Yeah.
If I'm honest with you, I think it's too cheap.
Well,
from the experience we've had in terms of the conversions, not only with the acquisitions, but and then another client conversions will come as well. I think I'm probably like priced out. I think you could charge a bit more for it, you know, because it is worth a lot of money.
Starting that with me.
Yeah. No. You probably could, but the thing is, what you've got to look at is you've got to look at the industry on a whole, and not everybody's turning over more than 500 grand. So you've got to look. iPRAC was founded really to help the little people as well. One person owner, you know, who doesn't have a massive marketing budget, so they can come in and pay like £399 a year and get a trust certification. There's a reason why it's cheap. It's because we want to make it achievable and make it affordable for everybody, rather than being priced out of the market. These trust certifications are just so expensive. So we bring the value and we bring the value with iPRAC, but also the affordability, and that's why it's so important. That's why it's so
it's a brand popular, and it's just to get everywhere. You don't want it to be quality. This has got to be quantity. This has got to be as many places as possible.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same motto and mantra that when I priced up the websites and what we do, a content creator, it's low for that exact reason. It's not to get like 1 or 2 real big clients. It's to make sure that we can have thousands of Boostly websites or thousands of people have got their social media, and it's exact same with iPRAC.
It's
cool.
Going to be
awesome, guys. Thanks for your time, and thanks everyone for listening and watching, questions, that sort of stuff. And no doubt I'll speak to you all over the next few days or so.
Yeah,
We
good.
will.
Awesome.
We will.
Good to chat,
Take care.
guys.
See you in the morning,
See
Ryan.
you
See you
later.
later. Yeah, see you later,
See you,
bud.
folks.
All right, bye.
Have a nice evening.